Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's concert. First of all, we want to thank United Methodist Church for inviting us to perform in this beautiful facility. We had a chance to rehearse here this afternoon. The acoustics are great. We hope you have an exciting time tonight. We're having a lot of fun. And a special thanks to Ruth Ann Ramstead and Doug Schnaubel for all their help on our behalf. One of the traditions for the Augie Brass is to go to the home of a senior in the group. And as Pastor Ramstead said, Kelsey is our, I have called her Kelsey all year. Tonight I called her Chelsea, I called her Kathy. Senior moment. Kelsey, would you stand, please? Would you help us thank for all of her service? We opened with Triumphant Procession. Now, in 1990, a trumpet was found in the caves of the Middle East that was carbon dated to be 10,000 years old. The pictures on the wall, the cave pictures, indicated that this trumpet was used for religious ceremonies. Now, this is before the time of recorded language, TV, cameras, computers, and yet, music was used for religious purposes. So we know that there has been a history of it. Throughout history, the church has been the starting place for much of music. And so therefore, having the brass choir as an integral part of the church service is very good, both with sacred and, tonight, secular music. James Kernow is a well-known composer, performer, and publisher of brass music. He wrote this piece, this next piece, Come Thou Almighty King, for the Augustana Brass Choir. And we will perform it for you now. Come Thou Almighty King. In the fall of the year, students auditioned for performing in the concert band, the Augie Brass Choir, the Northlanders, the College Jazz Ensemble. Those selected for brass choir rehearse 2 days a week for 1 hour, and then perform in chapel several times a year, on the Christmas extravaganza, which, by the way, this is a commercial, December the 11th. The literature we perform in many cases was written especially for the Augie Brass Choir over the years. James Kernow, Václav Nelibel, Lenny Needhouse, David Huber, Mark Free, and other nationally known composers. Dr. Harold Krieger in 1967 established the brass choir as an official ensemble. Once that happened, he has taken them on tours internationally, going over to several other countries as well as touring the States. The music that they play is music from many different styles and genres, as well as many different history periods. Vocal music was much more prevalent in the 16th, 17th, 18th century, and many well-known composers at that time wrote to enhance the service. One composer was 18th century composer George Frederick Handel. Some of you might have heard of him. He did something called The Messiah or something like that. The next piece that we're going to play is Thanks Be to Thee, which was a choral anthem, and this one was arranged by Dr. Harold Krieger, the founder. Our next tune is Waltz for Arby, which was written by Gene, and it features our trombone soloist. Senior Emily Weedy is here tonight to perform with us Gene White's Waltz for Arby. in the book of Revelation, chapter 21. John writes about a new heaven and a new earth, a holy city coming down out of heaven. Michael Maybrick, an English composer writing under the pseudonym Stephen Adams, decided that music was a good way to express John's words, so he wrote a choral work, The Holy City. Adams divided the work into two sections. In the first he wrote, "Last night I lay sleeping, I dreamed a dream so fair." And then he went on to describe the holy city that he dreamed about. In the middle of the work, he writes, "And once again the scene was changed. New earth there seemed to be. I saw the holy city beside the Tigris Sea." And he goes on to describe the city. But the climax is in these words, "And all who would might enter, and no one was denied." What wonderful words of hope and comfort for all of us. With the death of Christ on the cross, our sins are forgiven, and we can enter the holy city. As you listen to this piece, we invite you to close your eyes and imagine what it must look like as we take you to the holy city. Now also up here is another gentleman who is not an Augustana alum, but he is my son. Eric Sherburne has been performing with me since he was 9 years old, and when he's not doing his day job, he writes musicals and jazz pieces and has had several jazz pieces published by Barnhouse Publishers. He also performs on all the percussion instruments and plays a little piano now. Would you help me thank them for joining us? Jeff and Eric. Musicians get bored very easily, and therefore musical styles shift and change frequently. The 40s brought a frantic bebop style that showed off the skill of the individual performers, but audience was very difficult because they didn't understand what the music was. So to react to that in the 50s, they had a very laid-back, easy-to-listen style that they called cool jazz. That song became very popular in the hands of Henry Mancini because he used it to write two scores for TV shows and movies. This next piece is a piece written by Larry Meyer for the brass choir called Mancini for Brass, and it features Mr. Lucky, the theme from Peter Gunn, and the theme from the movie Arabesque. This is Larry Meyer's Mancini for Brass. Richard Maltby was an outstanding trumpet player who played with and arranged for Benny Goodman, Artie Shaw, and Tommy Dorsey. Later, he became staff arranger for CBS Company music staff, and he, under the direction of Paul Whiteman. And he wrote this next piece. This is Ballad for Brass and Percussion. Before we perform our last piece, we would again like to thank Ruth and Doug for all of their work and for you to coming tonight. It's a cold night out there, and we appreciate having you here. It makes it a lot more interesting for us to play. Also, a big thanks to United Methodist Church for hosting us tonight in your homes. There are two reasons why this last piece is very fitting. Number one, it was arranged by Doc Krieger. Number two, the words in the title serve as a great benediction. The Lord bless you and keep you.